Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and happy August! Michael and I are living in Washington, D.C. right now, and you can expect a full month of museum tours coming up as we explore the many museums in D.C. as we're able to. We both can't believe how many museums there are here and how many hours you could spend in each and every one, so please understand that we couldn't possibly show you everything that's here no matter how long we stayed. Today, I'm at the Smithsonian National Postal Museum, and I'm really excited to see this museum because I have really fond feelings about the United States Postal Service. My grandpa worked for the Postal Service, sorting and delivering mail all of my early years before he retired, so I always think about him when I see anything related to the post office. I saved this video especially to post on my grandma's birthday, because although Papa is no longer with us, she is still one of my favorite humans on this planet, and I hope she is having a wonderful birthday today. Let's go check out this museum together. This is a street collection box that was damaged on September 11, 2001, across the street.
But this should be fixed with him.
It's a fire hose nozzle. New York postmark head stamp from that day. Return to sender unknown. This is a display case of postal objects that have endured extreme situations and actually survived. This first one up here, that is a perforating paddle from 1899, and it perforated mail before fumigating it, which was a precaution against yellow fever. This padlock is from 1862. Got damaged during a robbery. This is a remnant from a mailbox, number 507, that survived the earthquake in 1906 in San Francisco. It survived and they continued using it until 1972. This mailbox belonged to USNS General Simon B. Buckner in the 1960s, and it was on board, USNS, United States Navy ship, that's what that stands for. And it took part in a major operation for Korea, and also went with troops to Vietnam. This is from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, from 1889. A dam ruptured in the Conemaugh Valley, and the ensuing flood destroyed the towns of Johnstown. But the front of this iron mail collection survived in 1889. I don't think this is an antique, but I found this piece of folk art, and I feel like my grandpa would have loved this. It's called Uncle Sam Riding a Bicycle, and it was acquired in 2014. Uncle Sam and the flag are displayed separately to prevent the flag staff from placing pressure on his right hand. And I guess it was a stamp modeled after this piece of art. Cause see, a 37-cent stamp from 2003. That is so cute. This reminds me of my grandpa 100%. Like, I totally feel like he would have had this piece of art on display if he could have. He was very patriotic. Pretty much anything red, white, and blue like this, Americana themed, makes me think of my grandpa. this atrium. 3 planes, a couple mail trucks, a depot. I'm guessing that's the Pony Express. We will learn more. This is so pretty. And this is the first museum I've been in so far where I get this much fresh air and sunshine. As of 2004, there were 188,613 delivery vehicles in service of the United States. These white vehicles are common neighborhood sights. My grandpa actually used his own personal car. He didn't have a special mail carrier. We watch and wait as these carriers use them to help bring us our share of the over 600 million pieces of mail processed in the United States each day. The first large-scale purchase of vehicles for letter carriers included an odd-looking, 3-wheeled, lightweight conveyance known as a mailster. Let's see if I can cover this so you can see. There we go. The mailster worked best in temperate climates and on even terrain. In other areas, they sometimes did not work at all. Northern carriers immobilized in as little as 3 inches of snow also complained of the vehicle's inability to heat properly. The 3-wheel design left mailsters susceptible to tipping over when cornering over 25 miles per hour or if caught in a wind gust. One carrier complained that his mailster was tipped over by a large dog. Here's another one. Use my hat to shade it where you can see. Willis Jeep. My dad loves a Willis Jeep. Postal officials had been especially impressed by the performance of the Willis Jeep in earlier vehicle tests. Already famous for the rugged reliability they demonstrated in World War II, Jeeps soon became part of the Post Office Vehicles Modernization Program. I never knew the Post Office utilized Jeeps. In August of 1953, the first postal Jeeps rolled off the Willis Motor assembly line. This first model, the first U.S. car in 3 decades to have right-hand drive, was soon being tested on postal routes around the country. Carriers used these right-hand drive vehicles to save delivery time on their routes. They could reach the mailbox without having to park and go around their cars or reach over a passenger seat to deliver mail. Oh, this one's a right-hand drive, see? Then we had sit or stand-in vans. The first sit or stand-in vans used by the post office were built by the Twin Coach Company of Kent, Ohio in the early 1950s. This design gave carriers the option of standing up while driving short distances or sitting down for longer distances. The sliding panel doors allowed carriers easy access to mailboxes along the route. For the first half of the 20th century, mail trucks transported both carriers and their mail to the spot where the daily rounds began on foot. Faced with more homes to reach and more mail to bring, the Post Office Department's solution was to put their letter carriers behind the wheel. By using vehicles to haul all that mail, carriers could complete longer routes in the same amount of time. Vehicles needed to be lightweight, maneuverable, and able to withstand the rigorous demands of daily mail service. Cool. After the 1950s, the next solution in postal vehicle service came in the 1980s. By then, even the sturdiest Jeeps were showing their age. This time, officials decided to have their vehicles made to order. They provided potential contractors with a list of requirements and challenged each to build the best carrier vehicle from scratch. Vehicles were used in Laredo, Texas, in what one postal official called the most grueling test of a government vehicle this side of the M1 tank. Grumman's Corporation Long Life Vehicle, or LLV, emerged victorious. Now a staple of American neighborhoods, the boxy LLVs began service in 1986. The LLV was the first such vehicle produced for the Postal Service. These right-hand drive vehicles continued to make up the bulk of the postal fleet, as 1,402 2, 236 LOVs help deliver the mail each day. So they've been on the road since the 80s. And here we're talking about the collection box. In addition to delivering mail, carriers collect mail from collection boxes along their routes at predetermined times. This mail is carried by vehicle back to the post office and placed in the mail stream. Collection boxes first appeared in the early 20th century as package boxes that were placed alongside post-mounted letter boxes. In 1931, package boxes were renamed large collection boxes and began to appear on sidewalks without a separate letterbox. They slowly replaced post-mounted boxes. By the 1960s, this now familiar shape could be spotted on street corners in the U.S. I always think of my grandpa when I walk past one of these. I just think they're so classic. During the Great Depression of the 1930s and America's involvement in World War II from 1941 to 45, new truck purchases were a low priority of the Post Office Department. As a result, trucks bought in the 1920s and early 30s were kept on the road longer than expected. Skilled mechanics helped keep these trucks operating as best they could. Baling wire, talent, and luck have kept these aging vehicles on the road through the end of the war. The department was hit with another setback during the war, when many of its mechanics were called into service. Officials brought retired mechanics back to work. These men found themselves repairing the same vehicles they had worked on decades before. When you hear talk of keeping a vehicle together with baling wire, believe me, post office was good at it. Oh my, literally drove trucks until the fenders fell off. This is an Owens box. This mailbox style was the last one used by the Post Office Department that was designed to attach to a pole or lamppost. The original mailbox design of this style was created by David Owens, a Milwaukee, Wisconsin postmaster. Mail from these boxes was collected by opening the drop bottom section. Although Post Office Department last purchased this style of mailbox in 1955, some can still be spotted today in areas around the country. I just see what this is now. This is a 1931 Ford Model A parcel post mail truck. In 1931, the Post Office Department acquired 1,000 Ford Model A mail trucks. The Metropolitan Body Corporation produced the body, constructed principally of oak. Ford Motor Company built the chassis. These trucks were used mostly for parcel post service. Their cargo was packages too bulky or heavy for letter carriers' pouches. These packages were delivered separately from the rest of the mail, an extra expense of time and effort. The credit for the longevity of this vehicle goes to the drivers and the U.S. Post Office mechanics and maintenance garagemen of the time. Even if one truck got smashed up, they kept it for parts. Keep going. Here we're talking about motorcycles. There's Harley Davidson. That's a bicycle. During the 1910s and 1920s, the popularity of time motion studies inspired many organizations to reevaluate their procedures. Efficiency was the ultimate goal, and automobiles provided that service swiftly and with an eye to the future. Postal officials went on a buying spree. A variety of new vehicles were added to the young fleet. In 1920, the Secretary of War turned 5,000 motor trucks and 1,000 motorcycles over to the Post Office Department. The vehicles, used during World War I, were a mix of makes and models. Many were too big or too beaten up for mail service. In the end, only 1,444 of the trucks and 701 of the motorcycles received from the military were used to carry mail. I thought I was right. We all do it. A defense given by contract mail driver John Gorgon when asked why he was constantly driving on the wrong side of the road. Oh gosh. Wanted better drivers. U.S. Mail Motor Services, 9177. Who would drive all these new vehicles? Driving was not an everyday skill in the early 20th century, so the post office asked manufacturers and suppliers to provide drivers along with the vehicles. Some of the drivers were scorned for their reckless disregard of traffic regulations, exploiting an assumed right-of-way for federal mail vehicles. In the 1913 New York City public hearing, mail drivers were taken to task for their recklessness. Testimonials included complaints that the drivers exceeded the 15 miles per hour speed limit. The last straw was a 1913 New York City drivers' strike that disrupted mail service. Although short-lived, the strike demonstrated the post office's lack of control over the drivers. On October 19, 1914, the Post Office Department created the Motor Vehicle Service and hired their own drivers and mechanics. Wonder what that is, that tower. Speeding along and setting a standard. The horseless carriage appealed to innovative postal officials from the beginning. From 1889 to 1906, postmasters in several cities tested a variety of automobiles. These new vehicles were able to move more mail bags between substation post offices and rail stations within cities, and they did it at the speed that put horse-drawn wagons to shame. I feel like this is where I should have started this exhibit. The automobile mail wagon was tested for the first time. It was manufactured by the Winton Company of Cleveland, Ohio. I don't think you can see what's on the TV. It looks like old footage, maybe from the History Channel or something. I feel like we should have started over there. This exhibit. All right. Where do you want to go next? I think I want to go where the ponies are. In 1845, postal officials tried a new approach to expand the mail service, star routes. The post office department hired contractors for these new routes and allowed them to use any form of transportation they chose to carry the mail, from canoes to snowshoes. The mail has traveled along this network of star routes across America's valleys, mountains, rivers, and highways ever since. Okay. So we had stagecoach, cars, motorcycles, mules, and semi-trucks, skis, dog sleds, toboggans, snowmobile, rowboat, steamboat, motorboat. It says White River Junction, Woodstock. Congress shall have the power to establish post offices and post roads. I feel like I've seen some type of historical marker. They're blue and they're like along highways for the star route, and I've never actually stopped to read one because I've always been driving and not able to stop. Advertisements announced available star routes, and contractors offered proposals for carrying the mail. All the frauds exposed in the conduct of star routes. It is still incontrovertible that the management of the post office has been honest, cheap, expeditious, and a great public service. Interesting. All right. This is a dog sled. Can you see? Sorry about my finger. I'm gonna try to put it where you can see. There we go. Sorry about my hand. Dog sled from 1922. By the late 1800s, dog sled mail routes crossed the Alaskan landscape, moving mail between mining camps, roadhouses, and communities. The handcrafted hickory sled was first used by Ed Biederman. Can you even still see it anymore? The light went out. To carry mail between Eagle and Circle, Alaska from 1922 to 1935, and by his son Charlie until 1938. In temperatures plunging below -40. Jesus. Charlie transported up to 500 pounds of mail on 13 round trips, totaling 4,000 miles. In 1924, airplanes began replacing dog sleds. By 1963, Alaskan dog sled mail delivery had ended. Wow. I'm zooming in because I can't read these. In 1899, Ben Atwater, that's a photo from 1899. It's in good condition. First mail to Dawson, Yukon. Wow. Over here we have male mule riding saddle, retired in 2015. For over 100 years, the tried and true transportation mode, mules, has served the Havasupai people living in the Grand Canyon. The only official mule mail route continuing operation in the U.S. today navigates the trails to Supai, Arizona at the base of the Havasu Canyon. Did not know that. Residents receive their orders for groceries, medicine, and other goods by mule mail. The contract carrier leads the mule train both on foot and by riding the lead saddle mule. It's a lock and a key from the late 1800s. And I think there's, oh, the mail pouch. Oh, it's a big, I guess you'd have to have a big mail pouch. It's got a split. Mail pouch from the 1880s. The thick leather pouches used during the 19th century were watertight and durable. They withstood repeated use and weighty contents. However, the locked mail bags did not always deter crime. The slit in this pouch is reputed to have been made during a robbery. It's a Star route contractors have traveled their routes without uniforms, but some have worn badges as a sign of their responsibilities and authority. This style badge was issued by the Star Route Carriers Association and worn by contact drivers between the 1920s and 50s. This is a postal contractor's uniform from the early 2000s. All right. Okay, I think that's enough about Star Route. Let's keep moving. Ski poles. Let's keep moving. It's spooky in here. It's very dark. Right there. It's so dark and spooky. Oh my gosh. Okay. I gotta get out of here. Sorry, I'm scared. That's spooky.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, I'm out. We're in this room. I thought there might be like a stuffed mountain lion in there or something. Phew. Spooky. The colonial posts. The American colonies began as lonely coastal settlements separated by dense forests. Settlers were more eager for news of their families and homelands overseas than for news from other colonies. The British government, however, needed reliable mail service throughout the American colonies for official communications with colonial governments. Okay, we're going to zoom in on this right here. The British Post Office Act of 1710, also known as the Queen Anne Act, sought to improve the colonial postal system. It created a deputy postmaster general for the colonies and established uniform rates for carrying letters, but the new rates were higher and colonists used the official system only as a last resort. In 1692, the English sovereigns William and Mary granted a royal patent to Thomas Neal to operate a colonial postal system. Neal, who never set foot on the North American continent, appointed New Jersey Governor Andrew Hamilton as his deputy. Hamilton then appointed postmasters in every British colony. On May 1st, 1693, the Internal Colonial Postal Union began weekly service between Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and Williamsburg, Virginia. It established post offices, consulted with colonial assemblies about postal rates, and made the mail a service Americans came to expect. It did not, however, make money. colonial population was spread too thinly along 500 miles of coastline to support a long-distance post. The new British post lost money whenever ship captains and even some post riders carried letters for personal profit. Here's a big portrait of Benjamin Franklin. In 1775, the Continental Congress appointed Benjamin Franklin Postmaster General of the United Colonies. The Crown had dismissed Franklin from his post as Joint Postmaster General the year before because of his revolutionary activities. To help pay for the French and Indian War, the British, in 1765, imposed the first direct tax levied by Parliament on the American colonies on such items as newspapers, legal documents, almanacs, broadsides, insurance policies, and even dice and playing cards.
Oh yes, there it is. It's on the backside. Why?
In colonial America, mail was often brought to local taverns and inns, which doubled as post offices. Local residents would gather to socialize and collect their mail if there was any.
Then you got a picture of George Washington. I think that's him. Again, you got the map.
Okay, this says Lord Charles Spencer, a British government leader, sent these instructions by official mail to the colonial government of Virginia in 1709. Spencer ordered the government to assist efforts to protect the Bahamas from attacks by pirates and Spanish naval forces. It being absolutely necessary for the security of Her Majesty's dominion in America and of the trade of her subjects thither, that the Bahama Islands should be recovered from the enemy if possible. Her Majesty has commanded me to signify her pleasure to you, that you use your best endeavors for that purpose, and the commanders of Her Majesty's ships on your coasts have orders to follow your directions in the pursuit of this design, which Her Majesty recommends to your care and diligence, and to wishing you success. I remain. No chance of me reading that. Charles Spencer. And then we got another letter here. Oh. This says, in 1724, a British supplier wrote to Hugh Hale, a British merchant living in New York, itemizing a shipment that included 3 cases of looking glasses, business letters from European firms to their overseas branches in the colonies, and often ended with personal family news and messages. But there's no chance of me reading that. This is Father Eusebio Francesco Quino wrote from California to the Viceroy of New Spain in Mexico City on the condition of Spanish missions.
Yeah, they didn't have too much.
That's in Spanish. I can't read that either.
I asked the lady if there was any more stuff up there.
On the condition of Spanish missions, property acquisitions, travel routes, native populations, baptisms, crops, and livestock. The letter carried from mission to mission until it reached Mexico City. It provided the King of Spain vital information about trade and settlement opportunities. Here we go. Let me zoom you out. Sorry about the zoom. Let's see what this says. Oh, I can't read that. Revolutionary leaders formed committees of correspondence and safety in colonial capitals and other cities to circulate the news and ideas of the developing revolution by mail. John Hancock wrote this letter to the Committee of Safety of Pennsylvania on July 5, 1776, announcing the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. That's cool, because we talked a lot about committees of safety in May when we were talking about the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. Here we go, creating an independent post. William Giles Goddard, a printer and newspaper publisher, experienced the abuses of British authority firsthand. Goddard moved to Philadelphia in 1765 and formed a partnership with Benjamin Franklin to publish the Pennsylvania Chronicle, a paper sympathetic to the revolutionary cause. The local Crown postmaster failed to deliver out-of-town newspapers to Goddard, depriving him of important information for his own newspaper. The Chronicle was forced out of business when the Crown Post refused to deliver through the mail. Okay. Goddard's petition. Goddard presented this plan to Congress on October 5th, 1774. Second Continental Congress named Benjamin Franklin the first Postmaster General of the Constitutional Post. William Goddard, the original creator of the post, was deeply disappointed at being passed over for the position. Instead, he reluctantly agreed to serve as writing surveyor for the post. This pass, signed by Franklin, allowed Goddard to travel as necessary in his new position. These are but poor rewards indeed for 14 years of faithful service. Alright, we gotta zoom out. Here she is. Mary Catherine Goddard worked with her brother in his printing shop in Providence and Philadelphia before the pair moved to Baltimore, Maryland. Left to manage the daily operations of the family's print shop while her brother was away drumming up support for his constitutional post, Mary Catherine Goddard published the Maryland Journal, numerous almanacs, and broadsides. Wow. She became postmaster in 1775 for 14 years. But she got removed because Postmaster General said that it would require more traveling than a woman could undertake. And she got replaced by someone completely inexperienced. That tracks. Mary Goddard approached her publishing duties with great enthusiasm. Her printing coup was this publication of the Declaration of Independence on January 18, 1777. It was the first copy of the Declaration listing all of the signers to appear in print. So neat. Goddard's customers protested her dismissal. She had, by all accounts, been an accomplished postmaster. On November 12, 1789, over 230 citizens of Baltimore presented Postmaster General Samuel Osgood with a petition demanding her reinstatement. In their plea, petitioners noticed that Mary Catherine Goddard gave universal satisfaction to the community, and they prayed in the most earnest manner that she be restored. The citizens' petition was unsuccessful. Having already lost her printing business to her brother, Mary Catherine Goddard turned to selling books, stationery, and dry goods. She died in Baltimore on August 12, 1816, still beloved by the community she served. Who is this? Okay. Congress of the United States. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States in Congress. Oh gosh, I am so zoomed and I still can't read. That the act passed the last session in Congress instituted an act for the temporary establishment of the post office. Fee and the fame hereby is continued in force until the end of the next session of Congress and no longer. John Adams. Approved by George Washington. President. True copy. Okay, as the United States moves to create its new government. Okay. Postal Act of February 20th, 1792 defined the character of the young post office.
And they have trees, yeah, and they have rock formations. Does anybody know who this is? Who's this?
If you would go all the way there, I would go the way back.
Who do you think this is? This is Benjamin Franklin. Can you say that big name?
Benjamin
He is the one that started the post office. Benjamin Franklin. He didn't.
Franklin? Franklin!
Let's take it up. Henry, come back, please. And then these are all new. You guys don't even know what newspapers are. Although we did use it for our shirt.
What's in the mail pouch? The Baltimore Daily Intelligence. Be way cooler if the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence was in here, right? Okay, there wasn't much beyond that except it was talking about ships and getting mail around South America and across the ocean and whatnot, and a lot of newspapers, but I'm just going to skip that section because there's a lot of kids there. We have to go out the way we came in. It's super creepy. But no, let's check out something else in this museum. This says mail by rail. Sorting mail on moving trains was one of the Postal Service's greatest innovations. I see a dog. Okay, press a button. Oh no, that's gonna give me a migraine. Can't look in there. Oni followed his owner to work at the post office in Albany, New York. When his master left the job, Oni stayed behind, following mailbags onto train cars. Soon he had... Is he really a stuffed dog? That's actually the real dog. Soon he had thousands of friends along America's railway mail service clerks. So many people added tags to his collar that the Postmaster General had a harness made to help him carry the weight. After Oni died in 1897, his mail clerk friends raised money to preserve... This is a real dog. He's been preserved. I thought it was a stuffed one. I mean, that's the real thing. What a cutie. As a pup, he followed his owner to work at the post office. Oh, this is the same sign. But I don't know what the spoon's from. Oh, how creepy. Be good to Oni, Postmaster Clerks, Rock Island, Illinois. Aw. We can go in this train.
Ding, ding, ding.
It smells cool in here. It smells so old. I wonder what was hanging here. Maybe packages? Bags of mail that needed to be sorted, maybe? Wienerwurst. This is wagons carried mail bags between railway stations and city post offices, which often were miles apart. Screen wagons, introduced in 1886 at Sherman, Texas, increased security as the mail moved between post offices, railway stations, and steamboat landings. By 1915, post offices were being built as near as possible to railroad stations. This screen wagon, built about 1904, carried mail in Maryland until the 1920s, when motor vehicles came into greater use. Designing the perfect mailbox. Letterbox, Union Foundry, Reading, Pennsylvania, pull down letter, mailbox, U.S. mail. Reaching rural America. Definitely I grew up in rural America. That's cute. General delivery. Smells old in here. Oh, there's glass. I can show you inside. General delivery, stamps, postmaster. Recreation of the Dilberg, Pennsylvania post office faithfully recalls thousands of U.S. post offices that served small-town America through the 2 world wars. Oh, yeah. Man, this brings back memories. These old post boxes. Zip codes. By the early 1960s, the swelling volume of mail was taxing to the post office department to its limits. Zoning Improvement Plan, ZIP, oh, that's what ZIP, zip code stands for, Zoning Improvement Plan codes, were one response to this growing mountain of mail. Using numbers to stand for regions, cities, post offices, or even city neighborhoods made it easier to sort mail by machine or hand. Today, zip codes are used to help shape everything from voting districts to marketing campaigns. Think of each 5-digit zip code as a group of addresses. They might be homes or businesses, schools or apartment. Well, my grandpa always told me when I write a letter and I put the address, you put the name on one line, the street address, the city and state, but he always wanted the zip to be by itself and really big. He said it would make sorting the mail take so much easier. And to this day, if I think about it when I'm addressing something, I do that. I make the zip code really big and I put it down off to the side where it's easy to see. Looks like date stamps, I think. They're backwards, so I can't read them. Let's see. Oh yeah, here we go. 1 through 4 are 20th century head stamps. The imprint they left behind shows dates, places, and times. 5 is a parcel egg crate. 6 is a butter box. 7 says fit for a queen. Beekeepers shipped queen bees through the mail in containers like this. Bees. Wait, that. Let's go around and look at it. That is how you ship a queen bee. And this one is for laundry. My uncle is a beekeeper, so this is really neat because I came here since my grandpa was a mailman, but to see a little bee connection here is really kind of special to me, since my uncle is one of my other favorite people in this world. That's so cool. That's how you ship a queen bee. And I have seen one of these. He showed me this before in his collection of beekeeping paraphernalia. And that's boring. I guess you just ship clothes in that. One is a 5-pound capacity postal scale. 2 is a peerless letter scale in a pendulum. 3 is a Chatillon and Sons created this 8-ounce letter balance scale. 4, the only packages prior to 1913 weighing less than 4 pounds. That's all that was allowed through the mail. So this would make sure it wasn't over 4 pounds, I guess. This was a 4-pound package scale by the Fairbanks Company. And that one is a 9-ounce postal scale by the Fairbanks Scales Company. Barcodes. The USPS began using barcodes in 1982. The bars represented the 5 digits of the zip code and helped automate mail sorting. The machines read the stripes instead of the numbers. We're in a last exhibit here for like mail today, and it's kind of sad because my grandpa retired in the year 2000. But it says over here that in 2005, more and more mail was handled by machines than by humans. And I say all the time, and I'm probably wrong, that I just don't feel like we still need the mail like we used to. I basically never get anything through the mail of value because everything I do is online. And it's kind of sad to think about the decline in the need for this when, as a kid, I was always super excited for the mail to come. Like, I knew it would run around 10:30 every single day, and I would run to the mailbox even if I wasn't expecting anything, because you never knew what might be there. And I don't get that excitement over the mail anymore, which is so sad. Okay guys, one more thing I like to do while I'm at a museum is pick up a postcard, and I have picked up an extra one for you. If you are the very first person to leave a comment on this video and say that you want the postcard, I'll be happy to write you a little personalized message and stick it out with the next day's outgoing mail. So if you want this postcard, please leave me a comment down below. I hope you're enjoying this video. All right, I'm back up on the floor that I came in, and I saw this statue. I saw it earlier and I didn't think anything of it because I hadn't learned the story yet, but look, it's a statue of Oni. So I'm extra glad to have that postcard of Oni to send to whoever is the first person to comment that they want it on this video. This is really interesting. I remember talking about the Stamp Act back in May's videos. Which was a little bit less to do with why Mecklenburg declared their independence, but definitely a reason why it kind of fostered rebellion. But here we have red proofs of the 1765 Stamp Act. This is a letter to John Hancock that was hand-stamped in New York on July 4th, 1776. Beautiful handwriting. Here we have 2 of the very first ever postage stamps, which became valid on July 1st, 1847. 5-cent Franklin original model, 1847, and a 10-cent Washington original model, 1847. Okay, I've never heard of this before, but apparently there was one sheet of 100 stamps that were misprinted, and it involves an upside-down blue plane. And they have an example of it right here. The plane is definitely upside down. That's so funny. So I think there's only 100 in existence, a sheet of 100 of these. 24 cents from 1918. My heart stood still. It was the sheet of inverts. Feel it comes once in a lifetime. Wow, sold the sheet of stamps for $15,000. This is the post office where he found the sheet of inverted stamps. Beautiful building. It used to stand on New York Avenue near 13th Street here in Washington, D.C. All right, this is a stamp from the Pony Express. Cover bears an oval marking that reads the Central Overland California and Pikes Peak Express Company. The Wells Fargo Pony Express stamp. Wells Fargo, I did not know this, managed the Pony Express from April 1st, 1861 until its demise in October. During that time, the company issued 5 horse and rider stamps of this type in different colors and denominations. These semi-official stamps were used only on eastbound mail originating in California. Let's check this out. I can see the date 1862, or maybe that's 1860. Okay, everyone, I really hope you enjoyed this tour of the National Postal Museum. This was really special for me. I have a lot of good memories about the post office, and this really made me feel connected to my grandpa in a lot of great ways. I'm also missing my grandma very much, and I can't wait to see her again. So wish her a happy birthday if you will, and I'll see you guys another day in another adventure. Thank you so much for watching.